Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Phoebe and this is a channel about cross stitch. Today I'm going to be doing my regular 2-week update where I talk about everything that I've been stitching and in the last 2 weeks. And I started Maynia. We are a couple days into Maynia now, and so I'm going to just remind you what I'm doing for that. But that's what we're going to talk about today. I just finished filming my review for the new Thunderbolts movie over on my other channel, which is just called Phoebe Moon. My husband and I do movie and TV reviews, and I have nail polish content over there as well. But we just finished talking about that, and it always puts me in a good mood when I'm chatting with him, just because he's hilarious. But also, I also enjoy talking about movies and TV shows. So anyway, I feel like I have a permagrin on my face right now because we've just been laughing so much. So anyway, yes, let's talk about cross stitch. I almost just said, let's talk about nail polish. No, we're talking about cross stitch. If you're wondering why I have nail polish on the brain, I own a nail polish company, so I'm always making nail polish. But I have a variety of interests. One big interest of mine is cross stitch, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. All right, I have one finish for you, and then I'm going to talk to you about my whips. I did have one new start as part of, it was on day 1 of Maynia. If you don't know what Maynia is, as I referenced that in this video, you're probably going to hear it a bunch on Flosstube this month. Maynia is M-A-Y. And then Nia at the end. So for the month of May, it's like, it's kind of just picking a thing that's maybe more intensive than you would do at another time. Some people do a whole month of stitching patriotic. I know Heidi from Stitching Faye is doing that. I do it a little bit more like Brenda the Handwork Maniac is I think who I originally heard about Maynia from. Many years ago, and she has a video up where she shows her planning, which is very cool because she has like this whole poster board. She's a retired teacher, and it has a picture of all of the projects on there, and she shares with you which ones she got done since the last year, and then just like the visual representation of it I think is very cool. Hi Brenda, I really like your channel. So I'm doing a little bit more typically like that, where I stitch on a different project all of the first this year, since it's 2025, 25 days of May, and that's how I do my Maynia. So anyway, first we're going to talk about the things that I was stitching on before we got to that point, and I do have a finish which I'm very excited about. I think I mentioned in probably the last 3 or 4 times that you saw this, that I felt I was very close to a finish and I should be able to just get this done. So this month when I got out Blackberry House from Plum Street sampler. I'm sorry, I didn't iron this. When I got it out this month, I stitch on it every month on the 30th that I was just gonna finish it up. So I spent 2 or 3 days, I think 3 days, finishing this up. So this is a project that I was stitching on the 30th of every month because my daughter picked this. So I have 2 daughters, Honor and Joy, and the baby, Joy, she's not a baby, she's almost 10, but you know. So she picked this one out of all of my kitted up projects as the one that was her fave. So I've been stitching this on the 30th because she was born on the 30th in 2015. And it was perfect because the pattern already said 2015. So I stitched this on 40 count, you'd think that I would remember, dried petal from Fabric and Flare. And I used 1 strand over 2 with all of the called for, and I did it almost exactly. I was gonna say I did it exactly as it was plotted, but no, actually I didn't, because what did I do up here? I did something. I didn't read the page change correctly. So these stars here, I think these are correct, and then this one is not correct. It's like supposed to be flipped with this, or maybe these 2 are supposed to be flipped. I don't know. But then it messed up this, and I couldn't put another berry right here because it was going to hit this one. So, you probably wouldn't know if I didn't tell you. So I just left it. Man, this had a lot of stitching in it, but I love Plum Street so much. I could probably stitch everything that Paulette designs But I'm really, really glad to have this one finished. So I'm gonna get this framed and up on the wall. I just love all the colors. I love the way that this dried petal went with all of these colors in this design as well. It's just such a pretty color. Really, really love it. All of the flosses that were called for, I really love too, especially this currant color is so beautiful. I love it so much. So yeah, that is my finish. And I have yet to decide if I'm going to have her pick another project for me to stitch on the 30th of every month, or if I'm just gonna leave that day of the month empty for a little bit. I'm not exactly sure. So we'll see. But I don't have to decide this month. Well, actually, since my Maynia is only gonna go to the 25th, I guess I could decide for the 30th. But in any case, I really, really love it. And let me just show you some more of it. This is over 1. This little house is so cute, and the alphabet. I just love all the berries. They just look so great how she has them designed. So, but this took a lot longer than I anticipated. But I really, really like it. So that is my finish, and next to get it framed. Next, I'm just gonna pull from my WIP pile. WIP stands for Works in Progress. So the next one I wanna share with you is Oh Joyous Day. If you came to my last episode, you'll know that I draw some random projects each time, and this one got drawn again. So I did this two videos in a row. I've had an update for you because this one got random rolled. So this is Blackbird Designs Oh Joyous Day. If it looks a little different to you, that is because I did my own conversion here for these colors, because lots of times I like to just look at my stash, see if I have any of the call for colors, and then kit up from stash using the big DMC thread book. So here are all of my flosses, and I love them all so much. I love pulling from lots of different floss dyers, and I just feel like it makes for such a fun palette to paint with. So this one is on a 28 count piece of linen that I over dyed, and I'm using 2 strands over 2. This is one of my last remaining projects that's 2 over 2. And I dyed it this soft kind of peachy rose. And I just really, really love working on this project. And so this time I finished up that house. So I think that's what I was mainly doing, was that house. And I don't think I worked on the bird at all. I think that was from the time before. So I think this time I just was like, okay, I'm just gonna get that whole house done. So that is what I did, and I really enjoy it. And if this gets rolled again this week, I won't be mad about it, because I just absolutely love stitching on this one. The next WIP that I worked on is Christmas at Hawk Run Hollow. This is a stitch that I'm doing with Heidi from Whips and Kits and Michael from Davis Quilting Stitching. And a number of you are also stitching on this, and I love to see you make progress. So this last time that I got this out, I finished this block number 1. So again, this is another project that I kit up from stash. There are a few, I would say like maybe a third of the called for flosses are in there, and then I just pulled from stash, like I said. So mine's maybe a little bit more colorful than the norm, but I like that. This is 40 count. I think this is Landslide Intense from Moonshine Stitchery. And I am using 1 over 2. And then I moved over into this second block, which is a huge house. But I got the little peacock in there, and I started on the gate, and then I started working my way up and building out that house. And it is no joke. Heidi, I think, is just about to finish this for this second block. She has 3 or 4 blocks done, but bebopped back to this one. I didn't put in the border along these because I'm going to be stitching them as little pillows. I saw them, I think it was Sarah Stitchy Spot shared the idea of making them making this whole design a wreath out of little pillows. This snow that has green in it is the only specialty floss called for this block, and it is Silken Colors something, but I didn't have it and I also didn't want to wait to order it, so I just dyed my own for it. So that was really fun. I enjoy dyeing my own fabrics and my own floss, and that has become really a part of the fun of the craft for me. So this is my Christmas at Hawin Hollow. Heidi and Michael are just making major moves on this, and I really needed to start catching up. So they are not all 12 gonna fit on this fat quarter, so I will just get out another piece of it and make it work, because I wanted to leave enough margin for each of them to be able to make each into a pillow. So that is Christmas at Hawin Hollow. On the 21st of every month, I stitch on the piece for my daughter Honor. Her birthday is the 21st, and this is the project that she picked that she liked the best out of my kits. So the project that I kitted up. So I am coming along. I am making steady progress. This is a piece of fabric from Moonshine Stitchery. This is a 40 count, and I'm using about a third of the called for NPIs, and then I pulled the rest from stash. They are NPIs that I had in my stash, so I just used everything that I already had on hand. So this time I was working down here in this big leaf, and I think I put a little bit more in this petal too. And I got to use this blue shade for the first time. It's really only gonna be in this bottom part, it looks like, down in there and in there. So yeah, I am enjoying it. It is not going along as quickly as I would hope, but one of my problems is there are like 4 or 5 greens in here, and some of them look so similar that, especially the 2 greens that are this light color, that's not one color of green. And I get lost. This would be a good, I have a paper pattern of this, but this would be a great one to have in Markup XP, because I get lost as I'm going where I am, because the 2 greens look so similar I can't actually tell what I've stitched and what I need to stitch. So that's actually been a little problematic for me, but I really like this stitch, and this is the one that my 13-year-old picked out. Although when she picked this out, she was 12, but this is really a lot more like her aesthetic. So I love it, and I love working on it and thinking of her. And the day I birthed her in the hospital that didn't have epidurals, so out of my 4 births, she was my most difficult and my most expensive. I forget why at that time, whatever insurance we had wasn't like good in that area that we were living or something. It was crazy. So she'll always be extra special for all those reasons. Not just because she's wonderful, of course. Next up, let's talk about my 2 strands a day project. This is Happy Halloween from Brian Jackson, Love for Cross Stitch. And I stitch on this 2 strands every day, and I am at about 83% done, because I'm using Markup XP and it tracks for me. And this one is confetti heavy, and so if I weren't using Markup XP, which I wasn't once upon a time with this, and it was so difficult, but then I plugged it in and I'm having a much easier time of it. So 83%, I'm getting close to the finish. Every letter is in there now, and now I'm just like building around it, putting all the background stuff in, getting the little itty bitty missing bits here and there that need to get plotted in. So I'm doing two strands over 2 on this 32 count. It's either 28 or 32 count Lugana under the sea fabrics, and I'm using the called for DMCs. So you will keep seeing this one until it is done. All right, and then that brings me to May 1st, which is when I started my Maynia. So on May 1st, I had an open spot because I finished She Sights a Bird from Blackbird Designs. So let me move that. So I started the next one, which is called All the Hills Echo or something like that. And so I just got a little start. So here's the thing with Maynia, the way that I do it. since I'm stitching on a different project every day, which my brain really enjoys that, but I don't actually get that much done each day. But it is fun to touch all of those whips for the first part of this month. So I have a good time with it. So far, this is one of the only colors that I had to supplement. I couldn't find my charcoal. These are my flosses from She Sights a Bird, and I guess that pattern didn't use charcoal, and I didn't have a Weeks Dye Works charcoal, but I have all the flosses from the other 3 in the series that I've done. This is Blackbird Designs for the Bird series, and this is just a piece of fabric that it's a scrap from something else that I had over dyed. But this is a 32 count linen, and I'm doing 1/2. That is my preference, and here are my flosses. So I'm using all of the called for, with the exception of, in the place of charcoal, I put in Gentle Art Onyx, and I think that is it. I think I had everything else. I was thinking there was one more, but actually I look like I'm good. I'm gonna be good. So all of I'm doing them all as pillows. I've done the first 3, and they're all on 32 count, but none of them on the same fabric. So they're all gonna be roughly the same size, but look a little different, and then they're all using the called for threads with the exception of Onyx. So that is my little start for day 1. I had that turned around backwards. Hopefully it wasn't backwards the entire time. But day 2 is with a needle and thread, Rosewood Manor. The project that never ends. I have a couple of those, I guess. I love this project. I love this piece of even weave that I over dyed for the background for this because of how it's making the colors stand out. This time on the second, all I got done was filling in the conch. So I believe it was like halfway through this window filled in, the conch was. And so everything from here over is what I did on the second. I put in these 2 fence posts here, and I put in this vining here just because I used that color to finish the door there. But that's basically all I did. I just was working on conch. So yep, this is 1/2 on this. It's either 28 or 32 count with a needle and thread, Winter Rose Manor, and it will be done one of these days. By golly. And I really love working on it. But right now I'm in the middle of the huge house fill-in, and it just feels like it's consuming you sometimes, and then so you just gotta divide it up a little bit. But I really love this project. Winter Rose Manor was with all the called for flosses, by the way. Oh no, I have a needle in here. I think I fell asleep, or I was getting about to fall asleep, and so I put this one down without finishing that strand. But okay, day 3 of Maynia is Sundown from Carolyn Manning. I have 2 Carolyn Mannings going right now. This is the one that has the little thin lines. The other one I have going is more of the block style. And it is really pretty. These patterns are super tedious without Markup XP. Even with Markup XP, they're tedious, but I recommend if you're gonna start a manning, get a program like Markup XP, or I forget what it is for Android. But yeah, I really love it. It's gonna be so cool when it's done. But this one is a little bit harder to stay like motivated to keep working on than the blocky one. I don't know why. So no clue, but I think it's also because, oh yeah, I discussed this last time. I think it's because I'm doing this on 40 count, and the fabric, this fabric and flare, I just don't love it for this. This is stone. And the other one I'm doing on some Ada that I dyed, and I think that that fabric goes really well with Carolyn Manning. So anyway, here's my day 3. I got some fill in. There was some missing stuff in here, so I filled in like 5 or 6 lines in there, and then I came down here and I started putting more of this stuff in. So that's day 3. And then day 4 is going to be, I always find all my favorite needles when I'm going through my whips when I'm filming. Day 4 is going to be the swans from Cottage Garden Samplings. So I'm filming this on the 4th, so I haven't started stitching on this yet, but here's the swans. And then if you want to hear me talk about my whole Maynia breakdown for 2025, my last video, I do that right around the middle mark of the video. So I won't go through it all again today, but these next 2 weeks will take me through the 17th before I film again on the 18th. So I'm going to go down through Oh Joyous Day. So yay, I do get to stitch on that again this next time. So I don't need to roll random projects with you today because all of my next 14 days of stitching is already dictated out for me by my Maynia. So this is Maynia 2024. So I've started 2025, dripped some dye on there already. I need to put in, I couldn't remember the name of the Blackbird, so I hadn't put it in yet. But anyway, so this is just gonna come straight over from here. If it has a dot by it, it's getting put, a previous whip is getting put in there. So this is the beginning of my Maynia 2025. And so we don't need to talk about plans because I'm not going to stitch on any of my specific day stitching because it will interfere with Maynia. And we don't need to draw random whips because of Maynia. So that takes care of that. And like I said, if you want to see my plans for Maynia, just go back to my last video. I detail the whole month's worth. So I have had extensions, K-tips. This is going to be a random little spiel about that. So just skip forward a little bit if you don't want to hear. But in case you are considering getting them, I have thin hair, okay? And it got thinner after I had 4 kids. But I've never had like super, super thick hair. But I would say without extensions, this is like how thick my entire head of hair is, right? My hair is this long. I didn't get extensions for the length of my hair. I got it to give me some thickness, and you can probably tell I like to put colors in my hair, and so it gives me more hair to play with, having more hair, right? So extensions, they have been fun, with the exception of the site where they attach the extension. It's just like attached to your hair. It's like fused on there. It basically feels like I have dreads from the grow out of my hair down to the K-tip, and my I was supposed to get them taken out. My hair is about to, in my next video, my hair will be this short and it will be less thick because summer and I've been running a lot more and I just need less to deal with, right? But my stylist, she got sick, and so I'm just like dying to get these extensions out of my hair. And they're great, don't get me wrong, but like if you're the type of person who's like a picker, like on your nails, or if you have a sunburn and you can't help but like pick it or whatever, you know what I'm talking about, right? Extensions are probably not for you because all I want to do is like try to separate the hair from the extension. See, you probably can't even tell that's an extension in there because it's hid really well. But above where the extension starts, which is right here, all this up here is like hair that's just all knotted together because you can't brush it. Anyway, this is my little rant about that. If you're thinking about getting extensions, I love that the technology exists. Technology, you know, I love that it was invented. I'm not saying that it's not right for me, but I am very excited to get them out, and I will have much less hair, but it will be fine because it's been an experience. So anyway, okay, that's that. So plans are done. I have a tiny bit of haul. Okay, so Everything Crossstitch emailed me that they were having a 15% off sale or something. So I took the opportunity to grab these, which I have been seeing on Jordan, the Tattooed Stitcher's channel. Sorry for the glare. And they are just incredible. They are looking so good. Jordan, your stitching is just beautiful. And I think she said she's doing a conversion from Christy at Crosshatch. Is that this project? Anyway, so I picked these both up. So we have the Quaker House stocking and sampler, and then the Christmassy one, Quaker Christmas stocking and sampler. And I don't know if I'm going to do them as the sampler or the stocking, but I just think that they're really, really cute, and I love Kathy Barrick. I also grabbed these two. I also saw these on Jordan's channel. I probably was watching your video, Jordan, and I went over and, you know, shopped a little bit. So she got these Fragments in Time 2025 Halloween edition. Number 1 and number 2 are out, and there's only going to be 4, I believe. So you can stitch them all together, or you can stitch them separately if you want. In the picture, it shows them stitched together. and there's like a border that goes around the top, but it doesn't look like in either of these that the border is, no, it's not on here. So, oh, look for the complimentary border and pattern at, so I will go look that up before I start this. And I don't have any imminent plans to start this right now, but I just thought they were pretty darn cute, and I do love their Fragments in Time series, so I grabbed those. And then I think this last thing, I have like a whole list of stuff that I loved from Market this year, and I just haven't picked up much of any of it, but I did grab Wear It Well, Hands-On Designs. I just thought this was really, really cute, and I haven't stitched anything spring this year, but yeah, I thought it was really, really pretty. So in lieu of stitching spring, I guess I just purchased spring. So that is going to be the end of stitchy talk. All we're going to talk about left is books. I like to share with you the different books that I have listened to on my audiobook while I've been working and stitching and things like that. So if you want to hear about books, that's what we're going to do. So if you aren't interested in what I've been reading, then I will see you back in 2 weeks. But for now, let's talk books. So I have read, I think, quite a few things since our last time we caught up. I have a couple of reading buddies in my real life that I listen to books with. So I can go to my listen history. Okay, so right now I just started An Echo in the Bone, which is number 7 in the Outlander series. So in the last 2 weeks, I finished A Breath of Snow and Ashes, which was a really, really good one. That was book number 6. Yeah, if you haven't tried the Outlander books, I recommend. I just think they're really well written, and you just find yourself caring so much about these characters, and you can just kind of fall into the world and feel like you're somehow 200 years ago and experiencing all these things with Jamie and Claire and different characters that I won't get into, because you really should just go into it not knowing what to expect, and it's a lovely romantic adventure. So yes, I started number 7, which is so far not really about Claire and Jamie all that much, but that's okay. All right, so back, the last thing I think we talked about, I don't remember if I fully had finished the Thursday Murder Club at the last time, but this is I really, really loved this one. I can't remember if I gave it 4.5 or 5 whole stars. I love a murder mystery. This was giving me Miss Marple vibes. It was putting me in the cozy, but funny. It's just charming and witty. It's 4 people who live in a retirement community, and they work together to like solve crimes. But usually they're working on cold cases, and they just stumbled upon some, not just one, but some murders close to home, and they're going to try to solve the murders. And I loved every single character. They were heartwarming, they were adorable, they were brilliant, and I just really enjoyed it. So I'm definitely going to read book 2. That was The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. Then I read 7 Days in June. This is by Tia Williams. I also really enjoyed this. This was a second chance romance. I think I was at kind of like a 4, and then I bumped it down to a 3.5 because it was something about the end of this book. It just something didn't stick for me. I can't remember, but I did enjoy this. So second chance romance, I love a mature female main character where you're not just reading about, the 18-year-old. I mean, that's fine too, but at my place in life, that's not really something that I'm that interested in reading about. And so you have these 2 people, and they knew each other when they were teenagers, and they both are established authors. And they're meeting up again after years and years, and you're finding out why they didn't talk for so many years and what the drama is. And I thought it was a good time. So I recommend. And then I read The Spear Cuts Through Water. Okay, this was definitely the strangest book that I read in the last 2 weeks. This came highly recommended. Like, the people who love this book love this book. However, the hang up on this book is it's like the Russian nesting dolls, I'm using somebody else's analogy. I did not come up with that analogy, but it fits perfectly because there's this overlying story where this boy is listening to the story from his grandpa. And then inside of that, he goes in his dreams to this inverted theater, is what they call it. It's like a pagoda inverted theater where he's watching a play. And then inside of that story about the play, then you have the play itself, which is told as like you're just reading any fantasy book. However, as you're listening to the inside story, the fantasy story about the two boys kind of going on their hero's journey to help this empress who has been kept captive, and they have to fight these three terrors, and they're trying to save the world. The inside story is really cool, but they keep flashing back to story 2 and story 3 all the time, and you have no preparation for when they're going to do that. It just jumps into those places. So you really have to be paying attention, and it takes a while to get into the mindset to where that's not too confusing. All in all, I did really like this book. I think I gave it like a 4. If it were just the inside story, I think I would be able to appreciate it a little bit more. And this is the kind of book that would be really great to read with a bunch of other literary students and just really be able to just talk about every little thing, dissecting everything and talking about all of the metaphors in here and all of the different themes going on and the writing styles. And the writing style was really cool, but it was just so confusing the way they did it, because sometimes you jumped back and he was listening to the story from his grandma. Sometimes you jumped back and he was telling the story to his brother. Sometimes his grandfather, who was in kind of like a vegetative state, is back to just telling him stories and stuff. So it was just pretty confusing, but that was just how it was for me. I did like it. I read the whole thing, and I do recommend it as long as you feel like you can manage that kind of listening. If you know you're going to get too easily distracted, it might not be the one for you. And I didn't read it physically. Maybe you might like this physically better. Also, I actually grew to really like this part, but imagine that you're watching a play and one of the characters steps forward and talks straight to the audience, like totally breaks character and talks right to the audience about their personal experience rather than you just watching them in the play. That was happening constantly as well. So now and then you'd be listening to the two main characters talking to each other, and they're talking about this fallen soldier over here, and then all of a sudden you just hear, I really was going to go meet with my wife before I went to battle today, but I couldn't because I was called out so quickly and I really missed my wife. This is like a first person experience you're getting from this soldier who is dead in this middle 3 story. So when you're imagining it as you're reading it, once you finally get used to that, it's really fun to imagine this person on stage in this play stepping forward and delivering this straight to the audience. It's fun, but at first it is kind of off-putting. So anyway, really, really unique, incredibly unique. So that was The Spear Cuts Through Water. I had a lot to say about that. All right, next I read Cover Her Face by P.D. James. I had always been meaning to read a book by P.D. James. I read her first one, which I understand that's not like the one that everybody loves so much, and as an author, not the one that she loved so much, but I just decided to start with the first one. And this is a closed door mystery, so the inspector gathers all the suspects at the end, and everybody's like, how could any of us kill this person? They were in a locked room, you know. So it's one of those kind of things, very Hercule Poirot, where you gather everybody and then you talk about how each person couldn't have done it, and then you're like, but it was this person. So I liked it, but it wasn't as charming as Poirot. I've read basically all of Christie, and her writing is just so charming. And I liked this, not as much as Christie, but it was fine. So I liked it. Next I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Sorry if I mispronounced that. This was a translated audiobook that I listened to in English, and it is a short work. There's this coffee shop, and there's a specific chair in the coffee shop where if you sit there at a specific time, you can go back in time. And you can only go back in time to visit somebody who has been at the coffee shop. So you meet them when they were also there at the coffee shop, and you can have a discussion with them. However, nothing that you say or do is going to change anything in the present. So there's like a lot of stipulations about what you can do if you're gonna go back in time. So this is a really heartwarming tale because of the experiences that people have when they do decide to go back in time to speak with a loved one, or there's like 5 different tales, or 4 maybe, of different experiences people have, and it was heartwarming, and it was sweet, and it was delicate, and it was beautiful, and I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. So yeah, if that sounds fun, if you like time travel little tales, I think you'll like it. So that was Before the Coffee Gets Cold. Oh, and the reason why it's called that is you can only be time traveling while you're drinking this cup of coffee, and if it gets cold, you have to go back. And if you don't go back, there's a thing that can happen to you. So that's the other stipulation. Okay, the last thing that I read was The Love Hypothesis, and this is by Ali Hazelwood. I've read, I think, 3 of hers by now, 3 or 4. And I think this was the first one that she got really well known for. So this may not be her first book she ever wrote, but this was the first like published work that's on Audible. And you can kind of tell as you're reading it, I consider her more of a funny rom-com romance author, funnier than some of the other ones. And this one wasn't as funny, but I think she's just kind of was like finding it. To me, it feels like she was finding her voice as she goes along. I still really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. The spice level on this one, I would say is like a 4 out of 5. So, well, I don't know. It's not Crazy Town. There's no like, it's not romantasy. It's just romance. So keep that in mind. Like some romantasy books, you're going like, there's like bugs with humans. So that's definitely the weirdest thing I ever read. I didn't finish that one actually. Anyway, sidetrack. Not in the romantasy world. I think this is like a 4 out of 5 for spice level. Not Closed Door. So if that helps you decide if you want to read that. But it's about these 2 scientists, and one is already a PhD, one is working on her PhD, and I believe that Ali Hazelwood almost always writes about people who are in some kind of academic sphere, at least all the ones I've read so far. So yeah, I don't want to say too much about it, but the fake dating trope in here, a little bit of forced proximity in here, but I enjoyed it, so it was a good time. All right, like I said, I read a lot of books in these last 2 weeks, so that is finally gonna wrap it up though. So I really appreciate you stopping by to hang out with me, and I hope you get so much stitchy time in the next 2 weeks. And if you're participating in Maynia, let me know down below what style of Maynia you're gonna do, and what have you been reading and loving lately. I love to take your comments and add them to my TBR. That is so fun for me. So that's gonna be it for today. So I will see you back in 2 weeks. Take care until then. Bye.